First up, I'm not in the van. You might have noticed that. We have just gone through a red weather warning and it wasn't so much fun. There was about 100 mile an hour winds and so on. And so there was no way that I was taking a high sided van out in that. The recommendation wasn't even to leave the house, never mind drive around in a long wheelbase crafter. So I'm here and doing the video from here. Fortunately, last weekend was my birthday and we went up to Tindrum, stayed overnight in a pod, a glamping pod in a nice campsite up there. It was a really nice night, just Sharon and myself. And we managed to get lots of video of the scenery around there. So I'm still sharing a bit of the Scottish scenery, which I like to do in the videos. We had a good night up there and had a nice meal back to the pod, chilled out, watched a few things, and then went to bed. I woke up a bit early and tossed and turned, but then fell asleep and had a strange dream. Now, you may not believe this one, but I had a dream where I was debating Elon Musk. Now, I think it's because of what he represents as in the corporate world, not the politics. I'm keeping that out of it. And also, he's been in the news that much that he's the face of the corporate world. And what this debate was about was um, me defending not living a corporate lifestyle. Now, remember, I've come from working in IT, being senior management in IT, into coaching and so on. And that's coming from quite a corporate environment to basically being self employed as a coach, going out, making videos, and all sorts of things like that. It's a very different lifestyle. And I think that that change is one which, yeah, still spooks me. That transition. Remember, not only have I changed job and career, but it was an early retirement as well. And here's the biggie: my birthday. I turned 60, so that number can still trip people up. I think I have spent the last 10 years thoroughly enjoying in my 50s. I've really enjoyed it. And I completely intend to keep the adventure that I started in my 50s heading all the way through 60 and as far as I can go. I don't have worries about that. I am not settling down. I'm not collecting the carriage clock or anything like that. That might be an older reference than most people will understand, but I'm not just settling down and waiting. I am continuing to discover new things about the world, myself, whatever. But that number 60 is still, it's one of those numbers that trip you up. The next day, we were sitting having breakfast, and I was telling Shan, my wife, about this dream because it really was a bit of a strange dream. And we were talking about it, and I immediately went and thought, right, I'm going to look it up, especially the bit didn't mention, the bit where at the end of the dream, I was searching for my shoes. I'd lost my shoes. Now, at first, I thought that's just because I've bought a new pair of walking shoes, but I don't think it was that. When I looked up what losing your shoes meant in a dream, and yeah, this you might not quite agree with this. It could just be strange things, and I often think to myself that dreams are really just your brain sorting things out anyway. But it was interesting when I read what it's supposed to mean. Dreams about losing shoes. I've got it here. Dreams about losing shoes can have various symbolic meanings depending on the context of the dream and your personal experiences. Generally, shoes in dreams often represent stability, direction, and identity in life. Losing them may symbolize loss of stability or direction. That sounded familiar. A transition or change, definitely hitting the jackpot on that one. Feeling vulnerable or unprotected. Well, I'm now self employed, so I've only got me. I don't have a team, I don't have an organization, so that could be argued as well. A desire for freedom or escape. Now, that's a definite one. That was a definite one. I wanted to escape the corporate rat race. And self perception and confidence. Well, there you've got the imposter syndrome kicking in, which definitely is something I think a lot of people can relate to, and certainly I personally feel every so often, now and again, all the time, whatever way you want to look at it. That's definitely something that's there. And reflecting on what's currently happening in your life, such as major decisions, insecurities, or changes, can provide more insight into the meaning behind the dream. And that got me realizing that yes, this dream was about those changes that have gone on in my life, this midlife transition, this early retirement, this starting a new business. That can be a scary thing. And I think the thing that keeps me going, I crack on about awareness all the time. And with that goes hand in hand with curiosity. And that curiosity is what's keeping me going just now, rather than just going, okay, I've done this big change. What the hell am I going to do now? That curiosity is allowing me to answer a lot of those questions. It's allowing that resilience. If you like, that curiosity is also helping with my mental health. And let me explain a wee bit about that. We talk a lot about growth mindset and fixed mindset. And it's supposed to be the ideal is that we should all have growth mindset, but it's not a black and white. There is a spectrum. Sometimes there is actually a place for fixed mindset. Why do people like it so much? If we all hated it so much, why is it there? Why does it get used? And that, to a certain extent, is because at certain stages in our lives, for instance, starting a family, building a career, or what have you, there may be things that we know we need to do, but we don't really want to do. And so we develop this habit of doing them. That routine, whilst routine can be a useful thing, it can also be something that locks us into something that may not be brilliant for us forever. And the more that we do it, the more we convince ourselves that this is the right thing to do. But when our families grow, when our families grow up, the career changes, we hit our 50s, maybe even 60s, hello, those priorities change. And if we don't notice it, then we can give ourselves a lot of stress and undue anxiety because we are still trying to do things that may not actually benefit us or be something we might even need to do anymore. If we don't have some element of curiosity in what we do, then we might not even realize that the priorities have changed. And when we do, and we realize that we need to change, we need to have some form of transition, no matter how small, no matter how big, we don't know how to go about it. We don't have that resilience because curiosity helps build that resilience. And having resilience is great for mental health. If we don't have that resilience, then we can really start to feel the pressure of having to change, or even the pressure of trying to stay the same. You know, as we often say, a comfort zone isn't actually that comfortable. Being curious can sometimes be one of the bravest things you can do because, yes, you can ask questions about what's going on around you, but being curious also means asking questions about how you feel. Is this the right thing? Are all these things that you have held up as a priority, held up as a value, even though it might be a perceived value rather than one you felt intrinsically? You're having to ask questions on things that you have held important for a long time. And sometimes the answer might not quite fit in with the way that you've lived for a good number of years. It's worth starting simple. It's worth just building up that that habit of curiosity, that habit of checking in with yourself. I've called this video Midlife Transition Discovering Who You Are Now. And that's not just sitting down for 5 minutes and going, okay, who am I now? All right, I've decided that's the way I'm going to go. Like I say, curiosity, if you haven't been that curious or you've resisted asking questions about yourself, about life, and what have you, and you are wanting to start checking in with yourself, don't try to do it all in one go. Start with little things, start with the smaller things in life, start with the keeping it relatively simple, and then build up to that. discovering who you are now, the nice thing is, you might discover that you're perfectly happy where you are, that a lot of people are. But you do want to just check that you're okay with that, that contentment is this. Sometimes we can actually not realize that we're actually feeling stress. It's a bit like if you give up dry January, we're in the middle of January, dry January, you stop drinking, and after a few days, you might actually start to realize that for the last year or longer, you've had a mild level hangover all the time without actually realizing it. Because as your days go through with not drinking or being alcohol free, you start to realize actually this is how I should be feeling, not feeling slightly down, hungover, I'm tired, stressed, whatever. And it can be the same with this. Once you actually start looking at it, you might actually start thinking to yourself, well, actually, no, this feeling that I have is not the way that I need to feel. It's not a natural feeling. I could feel better. This existence, which is a strong way of putting it, but this is just existing, that there is a better way for me to live that I would enjoy more. And it could be a small thing. It might be just deciding that you're not getting out enough and you're wanting to go to the cinema once a month. It could be something as simple as that. I'm not downplaying that. That could be something that's really good. It could be getting that activity back in, a bit like the video about take the scenic route. Just do something different to spice things up. To make things that bit more interesting. Whatever suits you is what you can do. So in summing up, then, I don't have a magical formula. I'm not going to give you a magic question that will you can ask yourself and then suddenly everything will become clear, because it's very much an individual thing. It's very much something that you need to do for you and do it in a way that means something to you. The question I will leave you with is, what small question could you ask yourself that would allow you to see things with fresher eyes? And that could be different for all of us. And that's why I'm not giving you a question about what to do and go forward with. And remember, discovering who you are now is an ongoing process. It's not, here's one question, here's one answer, that's me for the next 20 years. It's an ongoing question because it's part of that journey. It's not, we're not necessarily always looking for a destination. Sometimes we're looking at what's the best way to travel this journey. And I think that is where curiosity really comes in. Thanks very much for the ongoing support. It really is appreciated. All the subscriptions and the comments and the views that have been coming in. It's really great and heartening to see. If you feel so inclined, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment, anything of those YouTubey things. It really does help the channel. And I really do appreciate it as well. So anyway, thanks very much. I'll see you next week. Bye.